Don't skip. Within the next hour, something is going to shift in your spirit. Something is going to settle in a place inside of you that has been restless for longer than you can even remember. Stay with me. This message was placed in my heart specifically for you. That ring, the one on your finger right now. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. Maybe it's worn smooth on the inside from all the years it has been there. Maybe the gold has thinned just slightly where it rests against your skin, because it has been there through every single season of your life, through joy, through sorrow, through mornings when you woke up reaching for someone and found only silence. You still wear it. And there are people in your life who have quietly wondered why. There may have even been a moment when someone gently suggested lovingly, they believed that perhaps it was time to put it away, time to move on. Don't move, because God told me something about that ring and about why your hand still holds it. And I need you to hear every word of what he said, because what he told me is not what the world has been telling you. You were guided to this message. Out of everything you could have found today, you found this. That is not a coincidence. That is a divine appointment. Heaven arranged this moment for you, and I need you to hold on until the very end, because what God is about to reveal will change the way you see that ring and the way you see yourself forever. Let me speak to where you are right now, not where you pretend to be when you smile at church, or when the grandchildren call and you use your brave voice. I'm talking about where you actually are, the place no one fully sees. There are nights, and God sees every single one of them, when the quiet in your home is so heavy, it feels like a presence of its own. The other side of the bed is made with the same care you've always made it, because old habits are a kind of love that doesn't know how to stop. You still set the table the way you always did. You still make 2 cups of coffee some mornings before you catch yourself. You've learned to laugh at yourself in those moments, because the alternative is something you don't want to let out when there's no one there to hold you. Pay close attention, because God sees what no one else does. He sees you on the evenings when a song comes on one of those songs, the kind that belongs to you and to the one you lost, and you have to hold very still for a moment, holding your breath, waiting for the wave to pass. He sees you pick up your phone sometimes and scroll through old photographs, not because you planned to, but because something in you needed to see their face. He sees you talk to that photograph. He hears every word. And that ring, you've tried, haven't you? Maybe not with your hands, but somewhere deep inside, you've wrestled with it. Someone told you grief has a timeline, that there comes a point where keeping the ring becomes something other than love, becomes holding on instead of letting go. And you've sat with that quietly, turning it over in your mind the way you turn the ring itself sometimes, around and around, feeling the smooth band that spent so many decades next to their ring, and you couldn't do it. You couldn't take it off. Don't skip this. Because that moment, that exact inability, that quiet refusal of your own hand is not weakness. It is not denial. It is not something to be fixed or counseled away. God told me why your hand won't release it, and it is one of the most sacred things he has ever shown me about human love. Type, "My ring still carries love" in the comments right now. If what I'm describing lives inside your chest, let heaven see that you are here and that you are listening. This message doesn't stop with you. It reaches the one who is still searching, still doubting, still crying out in the dark. If this ministry has strengthened your faith, consider strengthening someone else's. When you give through the link in the description or pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, partnering monthly, or joining our Ko-fi community, you're not funding content. You're fueling the Great Commission. Every gift becomes gospel carried further. Every act of generosity pushes light into places we may never physically stand. There are people one message away from hope, one prayer away from surrender, one encounter away from salvation. Your generosity helps us reach them. This is more than support, it's participation. You're stepping into the harvest field with us. And when heaven counts the souls reached, your obedience will be written into their story. If the Spirit is prompting you, don't ignore it. Step into the work. Let's bring the lost home. Now I want to tell you what God showed me, and I need you to receive this carefully, because it is going to reframe everything you've been told, everything you have been quietly ashamed of about that ring still being on your finger. God does not see your ring the way the world sees it. The world sees grief with an expiration date. The world sees a woman or a man who hasn't finished moving on. But God, when he looks at your hand, when he looks at that ring, he sees a covenant. He sees a holy promise that two people made before him, before witnesses, before heaven itself. And here is what he told me. A covenant made before God does not end at the grave. Don't blink, because that is the truth the world forgot, and the truth your heart has been quietly holding all along. That is why your hand won't give it up. Not because you are stuck, not because you are broken, but because something in you, something placed there by God himself, recognizes what the ring actually is. It is a spiritual marker. It is a seal. It is the outward sign of something that death was not given permission to erase. You're about to find out something very important. The one you lost, your late husband, your late wife, they are not beyond the reach of what that ring represents. God told me that when you wear it, you are not merely carrying a memory, you are carrying a declaration. Every single day that ring rests on your finger, you are telling the spiritual realm, this love was real, this covenant was honored, this life was shared in faithfulness, and I will not pretend otherwise. And heaven honors that. Heaven sees it. The angels assigned to your home see it, and the one who went ahead of you, they see it too. Let me tell you what God has been observing. He told me that in the quiet of your evenings, he watches you live with a grace that most people will never understand. You have learned to carry two lives inside of one body, your own, and the echo of theirs. You have learned to tend to a love that has nowhere left to go in the physical world, and so it sits in you, filling up every room of who you are, keeping you company in ways that are holy and sacred, and nothing to be ashamed of. Don't skip this. God told me something else. He said the ring is still on your finger because love, when it is real, when it was covenantal, faithful, devoted, does not simply dissolve. It transforms. What once moved between two people who could hold each other's hands now lives inside the one who remains. You became the keeper of it, and you have kept it well. Type, I am the keeper of our love in the comments if you receive that. Let that be your declaration today. Now, I want to tell you something about the one you lost. Something God showed me that I believe you have already sensed in the quiet moments, the moments you don't talk about, because you're not sure anyone would believe you or understand. Pay close attention. God told me that the one you lost has not been absent. They have been present in a way that the physical world doesn't have good language for yet. Have you felt it? That sudden warmth in a room that had no reason to feel warm. The sense just for a moment of not being alone, not in a frightening way, but in the most familiar, comforting way imaginable. the dream that felt different from ordinary dreams, more real, more clear, where you held them or they held you, and you woke up with tears on your face, but something in your chest that felt, just briefly, like peace. That was not your imagination. God told me that the love that existed between you left such a deep imprint on the spiritual realm that the veil between you is thinner than it is for most. The covenant you made, the life you built together, the faithfulness, the years, those things created a bond that death can delay but cannot dissolve. Something very big is coming your way in this message, because I want you to understand what your late husband, your late wife, sees when they look at that ring on your finger from where they are now. They see faithfulness. They see the kind of love that doesn't require an audience to keep showing up. They see every morning you have gotten out of bed and chosen to keep living, not because it was easy, but because somewhere inside you knew that honoring the life you shared meant honoring your own life too. They see every meal you've eaten alone that you made with the same care you always brought to your table. They see the times you laughed and the way you felt guilty for laughing, and they want you to know God told me this. Specifically, they want you to know that your laughter was never a betrayal. It was a proof of life, and it made them glad. Don't skip this. There are nights when you whisper things into the room, things you don't put in any letter, things that aren't prayers exactly, but aren't quite anything else. And I want you to know that those words are not lost in the air. They are received. The love you send out in those quiet moments goes somewhere. It lands, and it is treasured. God also told me something about the ring that I have to share with you, because it is going to change the way you feel the next time you look down at your hand. He told me that every time you see it, every time you touch it, every time it catches the light, that moment of recognition you feel, that little catch in your chest, that is not only grief, that is also connection. That is the love between you still moving, still pulsing, like a heartbeat that has found a new way to keep going. Type, "Our love is still alive," in the comments. Beloved, if you feel that truth in your spirit right now. Now, my beloved child, I want to do something that may cause your tears to fall, and I want you to let them fall. Don't hold back, because God gave me words, and I believe these are words that come very close to what the one you lost would say to you if the veil between you could be parted just long enough for them to speak. Don't move. Let these words reach you. I see you. I see every day you have lived since I left, and I want you to know I am so proud of you. You didn't know if you could do this, neither did I, watching from this side, but you have done it. You have gotten up every single morning, even the ones that nearly broke you, and you have kept going. Do you know what that took? Do you understand the kind of strength that required? I do. I watched every one of those mornings, and I stood beside you in ways I could not make you feel clearly enough, wishing I could hold your hand through each of them. That ring on your finger, don't let anyone tell you it doesn't belong there. Don't let anyone put a timeline on your love. What we had was not something that ends with a date on a calendar. What we had was woven into who you are. It is the fabric of your days and the foundation of who you became. You do not owe the world an explanation for why you still carry it. You owe nothing to anyone's opinion about your grief or your devotion. Don't skip this. These words are for you. I'm sorry I had to go first. I'm sorry I left you with the silence and the empty chair and the side of the bed that still holds the shape of years. I'm sorry that some days the grief comes back like it is brand new, even though it has been so long, because no one tells you about those days. the anniversaries, the ordinary Tuesdays that are somehow the hardest, the moment in the grocery store when you reach for the thing you always bought for them before you remember. I'm sorry for every one of those moments. I wish I could take them from you. But I want you to know something. I want you to know that what we built together, the life, the family, the ordinary Sundays and the hard years, and the laughing until we cried, none of that was wasted. All of it mattered. Every moment of it is held somewhere safe. And the love you are still carrying, the love that sits in that ring on your finger, I am carrying it too, from where I am. We are still, in the truest sense of that word, together. Don't be afraid of what comes next for you. Don't be afraid of the days ahead. I am not waiting for you with impatience. I am waiting for you with peace, knowing that every good day you still have, every moment of joy, every time you sit in the sun and feel the warmth on your face, that is not time wasted. That is life, lived in full, and it is everything I want for you. Type, I receive this from you, my love, in the comments right now. Let that be your response across the veil. Let heaven carry it. Revival doesn't spread by accident. It spreads because believers decide to act. If this message stirred something in you, imagine what it could do for someone who has never heard truth spoken with clarity. When you give through the link below, whether once or as an ongoing partner, you help send the gospel beyond this moment. You become part of every testimony, part of every restored heart, part of every soul that turns back to Christ. Your generosity turns sermons into lifelines and videos into divine appointments. Scripture tells us that some plant, some water, but God brings the increase. Today you can be the one who plants. If you believe souls matter, this is your opportunity to move from agreement to action. Let's reach them while there is still time. Before we go further, God wants to sit with you in something for a moment. Not the promise we will get to the fullness of the promise, but first, He wants to acknowledge what you have been carrying. Because there is a grief that the world does not have a good name for, and it is the grief of the one who remains. Pay close attention. There is a particular loneliness in being the one who outlives the love of their life. It is not the same as other loneliness. It is the loneliness of a person who had a companion so woven into their daily existence, someone who knew how you took your coffee, someone who could read your silence, someone who laughed at the same things you laughed at, someone who had known you long enough to know all the versions of you, and then that person was gone, and the world expected you to grieve for a season, and then adjust, and then, over time, return to some kind of functional wholeness, as if the missing of them was a wound that heals, as if the empty space they left could eventually be filled with something else. Don't skip this. God told me that the world doesn't let you grieve in the full measure that you need. There is no public permission for the depth of what you carry. You smile at the right times. You say you are doing well when people ask, because you can see in their eyes that they need you to be doing well. They need to believe that grief resolves because they are afraid of it themselves. And so you absorb it alone, in the evenings, in the early mornings, in the car where no one is watching. God told me He was with you on the Tuesday night, when you sat at a table built for two and ate your supper alone, and the silence was so complete you could hear the clock in the hallway. He was there. He was sitting across from you. He saw the effort it took to eat. He saw the way you looked at the empty chair and let yourself feel it for just a moment before putting your brave face back on. He counted that moment. He recorded it. Not one tear you have cried in that house has gone unnoticed. Not one. Now, I need to say something to any guilt you may have been carrying. There are some of you who have felt guilty for the times you got frustrated before they passed, for the arguments that were never resolved, for the things you said or didn't say, for the moments you wish you had been more patient, more present, more tender. There are some of you who have replayed certain days with a merciless internal critic that will not give you peace. Some of you carry guilt about decisions made near the end. Medical decisions, practical decisions, things that had to be done that no person should ever have to do alone. Listen to me, you did not go wrong. This was not your failure. You loved with everything you had in the season you had it. You made decisions under unbearable circumstances with incomplete information and a breaking heart. And God does not hold that against you. He never did. What he saw in every moment you are now reviewing with regret was a person doing their absolute best in the most impossible of circumstances. That is what he saw, and that is the truth. If you are not already subscribed to this channel, I want to ask you to subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. Not for this channel, but because when you do, you are telling destiny that you are committed to receiving every word that God sends through this space. You are opening a door. You are saying, I am ready for more of this. I want to keep receiving. That is a spiritual act, and heaven honors it. God also wants you to know that the love you carried for your late spouse, the faithfulness, the devotion, the fact that you still wear their ring is not a wound. It is a testimony. It is the proof of a life well loved. And it is a gift that is still giving, even now, even in your aloneness, in ways you cannot yet fully see. Type, I did not go wrong. I loved well, in the comments. Say it out loud as you type it. Let those words reach every part of you that has been waiting to hear them. Now, I want to talk about the memories, the specific sensory, irreplaceable memories that live in your body as much as in your mind, the ones that come without warning. Something very big is coming your way as we go through these. Let them land. The first memory is the sound of them in the house. Not a special occasion, just an ordinary evening. The sound of their footsteps, the particular sound of the way they opened a drawer, or turned a page, or cleared their throat in the next room. You didn't even register those sounds while they were alive because they were simply the background music of your daily life. But now the silence where those sounds used to be is deafening. And sometimes in a half-awake state in the early morning, you think you hear it just for a second and your whole body responds before your mind catches up. The second memory is their hands, the specific texture and weight and warmth of their hands, how they felt in yours, how they moved, the things those hands built or mended or prepared, the way they reached for you. There is nothing in the world quite like the feel of the hands of someone who loved you and your body has not forgotten. When you look at your own hands now, you sometimes see both sets of hands, yours and theirs, living in the same memory. That is a form of keeping them close. That is love, finding its way. The third memory is their laugh, the particular frequency and rhythm of it, the way it sounded when something genuinely delighted them versus their polite laugh versus the laugh that was only for you, the private laugh that meant, we are the only two people in the world who understand exactly why this is funny. Nobody in your life now makes you laugh the way they did. Nobody in your life now has accumulated enough shared history to unlock that particular joy. And that absence has a specific shape inside of you. The fourth memory is the ordinary morning, not a holiday, not a birthday, just an ordinary morning when you were both there together. The smell of coffee, the light coming through the window, the feeling of not being alone that you were so used to that you didn't think to be grateful for it every single day. Because how could you know? How could any of us know in the ordinary mornings that we are standing inside the very thing we will spend the rest of our lives missing? Share this message with one person right now, one friend, one family member, one person in your church or your neighborhood who you know is carrying this same quiet weight. When you share it, you extend the anointing, you multiply the comfort, you become the instrument through which God reaches someone who needed to hear that their love was not a mistake and their ring belongs exactly where it is. Now I want to tell you what God is doing right now, in your life, in your home, in the unseen places that are being prepared, even as you watch this. Don't skip this. This is where your breakthrough begins. God is not finished with your story. The ring on your finger is not the last chapter of a love story. It is a living symbol of a covenant that is still active in the spiritual realm, and God is moving on the promises contained in that covenant right now. He is moving on your behalf. Here is what I see coming for you. I see a morning not far from now when you wake up and something is different, not fixed, not the grief resolved, because grief does not work like that and God does not promise that it will. But different in this way. You wake up and for the first time in longer than you can name, there is a settled peace underneath the sorrow. Not instead of the sorrow, underneath it. Like a foundation has been laid that was not there before. You're about to find out something very important. That peace is going to come in waves, and each wave is going to bring with it something unexpected. A moment of connection, an encounter that feels arranged, a conversation that goes deeper than you expected, a sense that you are not as alone as the empty rooms have led you to believe. God is sending specific people and moments into your path, and I want you to stop counting days and start counting signs, because the signs are already there. You have felt some of them already, the warmth in the room, the dream that felt different, the song on the radio at precisely the moment you needed it, the friend who called on the exact day you needed a voice. Stop counting days and start counting signs. The signs are the previews from heaven. They are God's way of saying, I am here. The covenant is still honored. The love is still real. And what I have for your future has not been diminished by your loss. It has been deepened by it. I also see reconciliation coming into your family. I see the people around you beginning to understand in new ways what you have been carrying. I see grandchildren who are going to ask you questions, real questions, searching questions about the person who went ahead of you. And in answering those questions, you are going to feel something release in you, because those conversations are going to give the love somewhere new to go. The love you have been holding is going to flow outward into the next generation and plant something holy in them. Type, my miracle is already in motion, in the comments right now. Receive it. Say it to yourself as you type it. Let that declaration land in your spirit. There are people battling silent storms who will never walk into a church, but they will click on a message like this. When you give through the link in the description or pinned comment, you help us meet them there. You help us speak truth where confusion reigns. You help us proclaim Christ where compromise has grown loud. This isn't about sustaining a platform. It's about standing in the gap for someone eternity bound. Your seed becomes truth for the deceived, strength for the weary, invitation for the lost. And while we may never know every name this side of heaven, God does. If you've ever prayed, Lord, use me, This is one way he does. Join the mission. Let's carry the gospel further together. Now, beloved child, God told me the blessing does not stop at peace. The blessing does not stop at reconciliation, because the covenant that ring represents carried abundance in it. And the restoration God is bringing into your life is bigger than the specific grief of missing the one you lost. It touches every area. It reaches forward. Don't skip. This is for you. I see the relationship with your grandchildren deepening in ways that will surprise you. I see a grandchild, maybe one who has been a little distant, a little busy, a little caught up in the pace of their own young life, coming to you with something they need, something only you can give them. Not advice, not money, not logistics, something older than all of that wisdom that lives in the body, perspective that can only come from a life fully lived, presence that is steadying in a world that moves too fast. I see them sitting with you. I see them listening. And I see you realizing in that moment that the love you and your late spouse built together did not end with them. It is alive in every person it touched, and it is bearing fruit right now in ways you cannot see yet, but will soon begin to witness. I see provision flowing into your life in ways that feel unexpected, and specific practical needs met in ways that feel guided. Help arriving from directions you didn't anticipate. Burdens that have been pressing on you beginning to lift. The years that felt wasted, the years of grief, the years of alone, those years were not taken from you. They were held in a divine account, and the restoration that is coming will return to you the joy and the companionship and the fullness that those years seem to take. God restores. That is his nature, and he is a restorer of years. I also see your story, the story of how you loved, and how you have carried that love, becoming a testimony that reaches beyond you. There are people in your world who are watching, whether you know it or not. They are watching how you carry what you carry. They are watching the grace with which you have lived through something unbearable, and what they see in you is going to become the thing that gives them permission to believe that love is worth it, that commitment is sacred, that faithfulness has a reward, that a covenant kept is a beautiful and holy thing. Your life is a sermon, my beloved child. Your ring is a visible sign of an invisible grace, and God is not done using it. Type, "My years are being restored" in the comments. Claim that over your life right now. Let that be your declaration over everything that is coming. We are almost at the end of this time together, and I want to leave you with something to carry. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Picture the one you lost, not as they were at the end, not in their illness or their weakness, but as they were in their fullness. Picture their face the way it looked when they were happy. Picture the way they looked at you. Hold that image for a moment. Let it be real. Now let this truth settle over that image. The love between you is not gone. It has transformed. You are its keeper now. The ring on your finger is not a monument to loss. It is a living covenant seal. It is you saying to the world and to the spiritual realm, this love was real, and it still is, and it always will be. And God honors that. Heaven honors that. And the one you lost honors that. You do not need to defend it. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to remove it until and unless the Spirit of God moves you to do so in His time and for His reasons. Until that moment, wear it. Wear it with your head high and your heart open. Wear it as the declaration of a love that was faithful and true. Wear it as a woman, as a man who knows what it means to make a covenant and keep it. Now I want to give you 3 things to do before you close this message. First, type, "My covenant love is sacred, and it is mine to keep," in the comments. Let that be your declaration. Let heaven record it. Let the spiritual realm hear you claiming the dignity and the holiness of the love you carry. Second, share this message with one person who is carrying a ring they feel they have to explain, one person who is missing the one they lost, one person who needs to hear that the God of heaven sees their faithfulness and calls it good. When you share, you become the messenger. You extend the blessing. You multiply the comfort. Third, if this channel has been a place of comfort and spiritual nourishment for you, like this message as an act of faith, a seal over the word you received today, and subscribe with the notification bell turned on so that every word God sends through this space reaches you when you need it most. It is done. You came to this message carrying a question you didn't know how to ask, and God answered it. He always answers the questions of the heart. The ring is still on your finger because love is still in your heart. And that love, your love, the covenant love you shared and still carry, is not a wound. It is a crown. Wear it as one. Receive this. Believe this. Watch it manifest in your life in the days and weeks ahead. Something is shifting for you right now. Something is being settled. Something is being restored. And in the moments when you feel the weight of the ring on your finger and the weight of the missing, remember this: God sees you. Heaven honors you. And the one you lost is proud of how you have loved. Amen.